Hi, this is Gina Volpe, and you are listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast with Eric and Jeff.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Gina Volpe of the Lunachicks and Bantam.
Yeah, she's going to be releasing her new solo album, Delete the World, on February 23rd of 2024. Great interview. Let's get to it.
All right, good night.
Good night. Gina, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Gina, thanks for joining us tonight.
Happy to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
So excited to have you. You were definitely recommended from Gail Greenwood to get you on the podcast tonight. So,
Oh, I love that Gail. She is just the best.
She truly is. So, hey, let's get right into it. This February 23rd of 2024, you'll be releasing your new solo album, Delete the World. Can you give our listeners an insight on this new creative endeavor?
Well, I actually started as a solo artist a few years ago, and I've been releasing singles and EPs, but I just haven't had really the time and the funds to release a full album until now. So, it's been something I've been meaning to do forever, and I'm finally doing it. So I'm super excited about it. Yeah. 13 songs, finally.
Fantastic.
Nice. Will any of the previous singles be on there, or are these fairly new songs?
So the two I just released two singles from this upcoming album, starting in November, and then the second single came out December 1st, and those songs will be on the album. They're from the album. The latest two.
Oh, very good. So help us out a little bit. Is this a self-funded album, or did you finally find a label to help make this album happen for you?
Sadly, I am self-funded. I did try to find a label. I knocked on a few doors, but no, in the end, I ended up just working my butt off, saving my pennies, and I basically cleaned out my entire bank account, but worth it.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, the new singles are pretty awesome. Can you talk about the video that you made for Drink Me?
Oh, my God. Did you see it? Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
It is.
I found this artist on Instagram. Her name is Stanzi, and her style is just so my thing. I was like, oh, my God, what am I looking at? It's trippy and psychedelic and digital and just wild. And I just cold reached out to her. I didn't think I would hear back because who am I? Like, she, doesn't know who I am. And to my surprise, she did. She got back to me. She was like, "Oh my God, I would love to make a video for you." I was like, "What? That doesn't happen." And it was amazing. She was awesome. And she made it went well above and beyond what I expected it to turn out to be. I was like, I don't have a lot of money, so I don't want you to, you don't have to get crazy. You don't have to put much time into it. Whatever you can do, I'd be happy with. And she just went nuts and made this crazy video, which I'm obsessed with.
Oh, it's so cool. Well, I'm glad that artists still do videos because, the age of MTV is gone. But can you talk a little bit about Make It Good? That was one of my favorite videos that I found from on yours with those creatures on the bridge.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I love them making that video too. I always wanted to have dancers. I can't dance for shit. So I actually hired 2 dancers and I made those masks for them. Cool. And I also grabbed some utility work jumpsuits from my husband's job and I dressed them in those. And then we scouted out that rooftop and then the bridge where we almost kept getting hit by trucks. And it was freezing too. It was like February when we shot that. And we were out there at 3 a.m, freezing our asses off. But again, so worth it because the dancers just knocked it out of the park. Yes. They did such an amazing job. And my friend who was at the time just breaking into being a cinematographer. So I got him at the right time before he took off to success and stardom, and he beautifully shot that whole video.
Oh, very cool. Let's talk about the music video creative process. Do you like that whole medium? Do you enjoy being a part of that? We've talked to many artists that just absolutely loathe the thought of being in another music video. But for you, what's your preference? Do you enjoy that?
I think for me, and I mean, I don't know about other artists, but for me, because I do everything myself, I'm the producer, I'm the director, I co-direct, I make the sets, I make the costumes. So I'm involved in every part, and I do the editing. So I'm involved in every step of the way. I worked as a scenic and an art director in film and TV for a long time. I worked on a ton of music videos just on the production side. Oh, cool. So I know the industry really well, and I understand the flow of the work and how to do it because I'm self-funded. I'm like, how do I make a video for $100? Okay. So it's about just being really resourceful. I can understand though if you have that other connection to it, and for you it's just a matter of being in, for you, I mean the artist, just being in front of the camera and singing into the camera. I can see how that could be loathsome, but for me it's more of a bigger picture because I'm basically the one cranking the gears the entire time.
Oh, so, very good. Yeah. Very good.
Nice. Well, talk a little bit about your guitar work on your new album. Can you talk about your approach?
Well, the fun thing about being a solo artist is, and in the digital age, I can just sit down and do whatever the hell I want. As far as maybe it'll be a synth part, maybe it'll be a guitar part. A lot of my riffs actually I start on bass, and then I'll put through some crazy effect. And I get to be a lot more experimental. Yeah. I think when you're in a band, it's a collaborative effort, and that's great. But it's maybe you don't always get to be as free to just explore weird ideas or things that you wouldn't normally do. So I'm a little bit all over the map musically. I like to dabble. Yeah. I'm like, here's a rock song, but this is a synth song, and here's a 80s pop song, and here's a metal song, and I just kind of just do whatever feels right to me in the moment.
Oh, very good. You've established yourself as a solo artist, back in 2017, I believe. Can you talk a little bit more about your, I guess, maturation as a songwriter since you've gone out on your own solo efforts?
Yeah. Well, after I left, after Lunachicks kind of stopped, I started Bantam, and that was kind of, I wrote all that music, but I still had, the bass player and the drummer, and they were, a part of that writing process. And then after that, I went on to scoring some music for film. And then I also wrote a musical, a rock musical, because I really, my good friend of mine who's a writer and a director, we wanted to make the next Rocky Horror. So we made a rock musical. And so that was another songwriting venture. And I've been writing songs the entire time. Even like back in Lunachicks, I would write songs in my bedroom and on my 4-track, and I wouldn't ever even dream about bringing those songs to the band because they were not punk rock at all. But yeah, I just, I'm in love with melody and crazy, weird sounds that I just kind of catch along the way. It's like, have you ever been walking down the street and a car drives by and you hear just like a hint of some music or beat coming out of the window of the car, and it's just kind of this like fly-by sound. You don't even catch long enough to know what song it is, but like sometimes like something like that, I'll be like, oh my God, I don't know what I just heard, but that's a song, and then I'll make a song out of it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Or I'll be like messing around on the synth, I'll press a key down and be like, oh my God, what is that sound? I have to use it. And I'm like, that's how Drink Me came about, actually. I hit the synth and I was like, oh, I'm in love with that crazy sound. I don't even know what it is. I have to make a song out of it. So
talk a little bit more about that approach to songwriting. Do you, is it pretty much the same for you? Do you attack the music first and then come up with lyrics, or come up with lyrics and come up with music later, or how's it work for you?
Actually, I'm a lyrics at the very last.
Yeah.
Lyrics are not my strong suit. So I'll always have the music. Usually it's the riff and the music, then it's the melody, and then I have a full-on freak out trying to figure out what to do about the lyrics. Yeah. And then I'll sit there and try to phonetically fit the words, because I'm so attached to the melody that I have in my head that the words have to fit inside that melody. So then I have to come up with some pretty funky lyrics, because it's really just because the syllables work with the melody and not the lyrics. And then I'm like, that's stupid. Because then some people, there's like half of the people in the world, when they hear a song, they have to hear the lyrics.
Yeah.
And then there's the other half of the people in the world who are like, oh, lyrics, okay, yeah, whatever. What, I want to hear the riff. I want to hear the music. And I fall in that category of the latter people. So then when people are like, what are you saying? I'm like, no, don't ask me. Don't listen to the lyrics. Don't listen.
Since Delete the World is being released in February, right in the middle of the winter time.
Right around my birthday.
Yeah, man. But what
is that your birthday?
Well, the day before.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
The only reason I picked that date was because it was 02-23-24.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, very good.
I was like, that's a good number. Sure.
But with it being released in the middle of the wintertime, what are your plans this spring and summer as far as performing live or going out on the road touring? I guess what are the plans to support this album?
I still need to get a band together, but I do want to play shows. So I have to begin the process of trying to figure out how to recreate this live. I need a synthesizer player, a keyboard player. I don't know any keyboard players, but I got to find one. I need a bass player. So I do need to get a band together. I don't think I'll be doing any full tours, but I'll be, like a weekend here, a few shows here, that kind of stuff. And unless a label wants to sign me and help me out with that, but I don't think I'll be getting in a van and driving around the country.
Well, fair enough.
But one-off shows, yes, for sure.
Very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, yeah, coming up in January. We just had Gail Greenwood on recently, and she's doing part of that Joey song benefit in Madison, Wisconsin, and I believe you're going to be joining her with that.
She called me up, and she was like, I'm doing this thing, come do it with me. And I was like, well, if Gail says come do it with me, then I got to go. And then I said, yeah, of course I'll go. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to Madison, Wisconsin in January. but it's going to be a blast. So I'm actually supposed to be learning those songs because I'm singing. I'm going to sing one of the songs. Cool. And I'm like, wait, I have to. That's like 3 weeks from now. Like, I better start learning those songs. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm psyched. Are you guys? How far away is that from you?
Oh, it's about what is that? About 3 hours?
3 hours north.
Yeah, about 3 hours north of us.
Are you going to come?
That sounds pretty intriguing.
It does sound intriguing, but the thing is that what people don't know about Jeff and I is that our day jobs. Yeah. I'm a public school teacher by day, and Jeff is an accountant, so we're busy so much,
Ah, okay. Yeah. And that's, I guess, a 6-hour round trip, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We'd spend the night up there if we do it.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. But I do want to switch gears on you here and talk about Pretty Ugly. The story of the Lunachicks documentary was released this past 2023. It features interviews with rock and roll royalty such as Debbie Harry, Danita Sparks, and Dexter Holland, just to name a few. Can you talk a little bit more about your involvement with the documentary?
Yes. Okay. Well, so first thing, for clarification, the documentary is not released. It was premiered at a festival.
Okay.
So we're waiting for it to get, I guess, sold to distributor. And then once it does get picked up, then there'll be a formal release. Mm-hmm. And then everybody will be able to watch, like stream it, or I don't know if there'll be a theatrical release. Hopefully there will be. But then it will be available to everybody. So hopefully sometime next year that's going to happen. But that all came together because a good friend of mine from college is a filmmaker, and she had and another friend of ours. They, between the two of them, had all this footage of us over the years because we've been friends the whole time, and decided to make a documentary with all the footage that they had. So, but the whole process started back in 2015. It was a long, slow thing. Like, it was a long, slow moving train that eventually finally left the station last month. But it took a long time to get it all together. And then it was planned to be finished in 2020, and then the pandemic and everything got, put on hold. But we were just the subjects of the film. Like, we didn't really have anything to do with it as far as like making any kind of creative decisions. We were just merely featured in the film as the subject. So, and that was a little bit hard for us sometimes because we're usually such hands-on. But like, we didn't even see the final version of the film until just before it screened.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because she just like, I don't want you to be like, I don't like the way I look. You've got to take that out. She was like, you guys can't pick it apart. You just have to sit and watch. And if you really hate something, I'll take it out. But really, I don't want to take anything out.
I guess, when it comes to, when a documentary is created about you and the rest of your band members, in order for that to happen, because pardon my ignorance, does all the band members have to be on board for something like this to happen, or is it just kind of like, hey, it's a majority vote and we're in, and if you're not, too bad, we're going to make a documentary about this band regardless? Or how did it work?
Well, in some ways, I think that if you are just the subject, like, I don't even know if you would have to say. I mean, like, you being us, like, I don't even know if somebody said, I'm making a documentary about you, like, I don't know how much power we would be able to have over somebody. Be like, you can't do that. I don't know. I'm curious about that. But so in some ways it's like, well, because we're not actually making it, this is being made about us. I don't know how much say they would have had if they tried to block it. But everybody was really like into it. Former members were also they were like, well, that's cool. Why not? Why wouldn't we want to have our lives documented? But I do wonder if that's happened in the past with other bands, if anybody's tried to stop a documentary, or I don't know. That'd be an interesting dive to take.
Let's talk a little bit more about Bantam. I know that happened after, like you said, after Lunachicks took a hiatus. But can you talk a little bit more about that stepping in or leaping into the, being the singer, being the front woman of the band?
Yeah, well, like I said before, I had always been writing in my bedroom and singing, but I didn't have the guts. I really was, because I'm an introvert by default, so it really has to, I really have to work to get away from that. So I just didn't have the guts to sing in front of people. In fact, I remember the first Bantam show, and it was right before we were supposed to get on stage, and all of our friends were out there, and I literally was having a panic attack and breathing into a paper bag. Yeah. I was like, I can't believe I'm getting on stage and I'm going to be singing, and everybody's going to be looking at me because now I'm the front person, and that is terrifying to me. So I just had to work through that, but because I always, it was kind of easy to just sit back when I was in Lunachicks and let Theo do all the work. But now it fell on me, and so that was a bit of a learning curve for me. But at the same time, I'm super proud of that band. I had so much fun, and I love to sing. So it was a really cool opportunity and a special time in my life where we were doing Bantam and playing those shows and we made 2 albums. And that was really fun. It was a whole different experience than with Lunachicks.
Well, I want to piggyback off of that. As far as musical creativity, I guess maybe take your vocals out of the equation here. But when it comes to, the musical creation, how did you and the rest of the band and Bantam kind of, I guess, move away to try to stay away from the Lunachicks sound? Am I making sense on that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm totally picking up what you're laying down. Well, I knew that I wanted to make music that was a little bit more cerebral, a little bit more complex, and a little more dark. I like dissonant chords, and I was listening to a lot of Jesus Lizard at the time. So I wanted something that was really heavy, but still melodic. But then also we could sneak our little math rock riffs in there, here and there. So I just wanted to take it into a different direction that was not punk, although a lot of my punk roots still come out. When I listen to it, I'm like, oh, that's a straight up punk song. But even on this album, I have a straight up punk song, and I'm like, this sounds like a Bantam song. So that is just in my blood. And even if I try to get away from it, it creeps back in. But for the most part, I was going for just a different feel instead of an upbeat kind of poppy punk. I wanted something really kind of heavy that was dark at times and very melodic as well.
Very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, I've always kind of wondered, not to say this is your situation, but just from your perspective, from a music perspective, that, it seems like from the outside looking in, sometimes it's unfair that, if an artist tries to, break away from their main band and do a solo thing, if they're too much like that sound, then they're fans, riot, and they're like, oh, that sounds just like Lunachicks. Or if you're too far away the other direction, then it's like, well, what is she doing? That kind of
exactly.
thing. But from an artist's perspective, can you talk a little bit about that balance of trying to do your own thing and are the fans been supportive?
Yeah, I have to say, some of the fans have been supportive. I mean, it's hard to know, actually. Yeah. I wouldn't say a lot, but I know that it doesn't my solo stuff, and even Bantam doesn't cross over into the Lunachicks fans. I mean, some fans, sure. I couldn't tell you how many, but I certainly have fans that were Lunachicks fans that were also Bantam and solo stuff fans, and for them, I love you, thank you for sticking with me all this time. But I also, I know that the music is different and doesn't necessarily call to the same types of ears, and that's totally fine, because I think it's really important to me as an artist to make sure that when I'm creating and I'm making something, that I'm not trying to appease an audience. And I'm not trying to think in those terms. And I guess maybe because I don't have a lot of fans, I have the freedom of doing that because I have nobody to piss off by not sticking to the same formula, and so I feel free to be experimental, free to do music that's not in the same style. I do jump around a lot, and some people will say, I really love that song and I really hate that song, and that's the other another song, and that's totally fine. Because to me, that's part of being an artist, is growing and creating and making something new every time. If I had to keep recreating something I've done in the past, I wouldn't be progressing as an artist. I wouldn't be truly expressing myself. And so I'm not interested in trying to recreate something that's already happened. I'm interested in trying to create something that I haven't yet done.
That's awesome.
And I'm sure that, I think artists do that all the time, and I think fans get disappointed. But that's just how it is. You have to grow.
Very true. For you, in this part of your career, as the solo artist, opposed to that of being the lead singer of Bantam, to that of being a member of the Lunachicks, I guess sonically, where's your comfort zone at? Are you more comfortable being that solo artist, or I guess if you compare and contrast the three, where is your comfort zone now?
I mean, musically, I'm in my comfort zone. The one thing I do regret, though, is that I wish I didn't use my name for my solo work. Like, I wish, because a lot of solo artists will just have a kind of more of a persona. Like, they'll have a name that's more of a band name, like Cat Power or Yves Tumor, you know what I mean? Or even what's the guy? I forgot his name. Okay, never mind. But you know what I'm saying.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It sounds like a band, but it's not a band. It's just one person, and it's more of a persona and or a character maybe. So there's a little bit more of a separation between your personal self and your art. But for me, I've been using my name, and it is just me and my personal self without a name or a character or something. And that sometimes I feel like I wish I could change that. And then sometimes I'm like, no, well, it's too late. And maybe there's a reason why, it's the way that is. And that's another thing that I have to learn to be comfortable with, because it's a very vulnerable position.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I'm new to your solo music, and I love it so far. I think you're doing something right. So I can't wait to hear the new album.
Thank you.
As far as, I guess maybe our listeners, and maybe you have seen this interview with Rick Rubin where he was talking about artistry of a musician, and the artist has got to take the art first before the audience. And if he takes in consideration the audience, and that becomes commerce.
Yeah.
Yes.
For you, and you probably speak volumes with many of your constituents. Where is your mind at when it comes to artist creation opposed to artist commerce?
Well, so that's kind of what I was talking about before, in that I think you have to be mindful of your motives, right? And what are you trying to do? What is the motive? What is the end game? Is the end game to appease a fan base, to sell records? And there's nothing wrong with those things, but it's just a different way of creating. And for me, my end game is, what can I make that I find intriguing, that I find interesting, that brings up feelings and emotions for me? What can I explore? And in the back of my head, sometimes I'm like, oh, people are going to hate this. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, great, good, keep going. Because I really don't want to I feel like it's a trap to create for other people, for the approval of other people. And And I think that's a kind of a lose-lose game, because not everybody's going to like what you do. And I think you have to, there's an element of giving up control in that and being okay with that uncertainty. And that's when you get to that place, that's when you can truly be free to create and find new magical ideas.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well, the Lunachicks, we talked earlier about taking a hiatus, but since 2019, you guys have done a couple of one-off shows. What is the status of Lunachicks?
That's a good question. We're just having fun. We were actually in your hometown last year at the Riot Fest.
Yeah.
That was so fun. I'm not sure. And I was also wondering, what's going to happen in 2024 for us, because the film will be released next year sometime. And I think that we would like to play a festival or two, or, some fun show. But we're all so kind of deep in our lives right now that we're just well, if something comes along and it's fun and we want to do it, then hell yeah, so we're just being very lazy about it all for now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We're running out of our allotted time for the evening. I got one more question to ask you, then we'll leave you alone. Deal? The mystery of rock and roll. It's no longer a thing with the internet and all the different social medias that are out there. There's no Zeppelin, there's no Sex Pistols, there's no anything of that magnitude any longer. But for you, the artist and the fan, where's your preference? Do you miss that mystique that rock and roll once had, or do you like this new age of accessibility? Because if we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't be doing this with you tonight.
Well, and that is amazing. I mean, of course, the new technologies, there's good and bad, and I guess because I came from the underground world, the world of underground music, I didn't go to a lot of big rock god concerts, so I never really I don't know, it was just not my scene. So in some ways that hasn't really affected me much, as far as most of the shows that I see, that I go to see, are club shows anyway. So I feel like in that sense, it hasn't really changed, at least for me and my experience in going to see live music. Most of the bands I listen to are not platinum selling artists. So, except I do love Pink Floyd. But in some ways, I don't know if we ever really needed that anyway. I mean, we still have that. It's just more Taylor Swift and
right.
Pop. Arena rock is more like pop arena rock now, but I wouldn't even call it rock. But I don't know. I didn't really ever go see many bands like that anyway. So, although I did see the Misfits at Madison Square Garden in 2019, and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. So
I saw them 2019 in Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Weren't they amazing?
The crazy thing, it was totally amazing. Glenn's voice was a little sour that night. I think he had blown it out. But the crazy thing about it, we saw him in April, and there was a blizzard in April in Chicago. Yeah. And we had to trudge through snow in the middle of April. But it was, hey, we made the show. And the sun came out and everything
worth
melted.
it.
What's that?
Oh, and you mean by the time you got out of the show, everything had melted?
Yeah, everything had melted. It was gone. But you couldn't even see it. You couldn't see across the street, but while trying to get into the place. So yeah, it was fantastic.
So are you saying that they came to your town and they literally melted the snow in the city?
I guess that's a good point. Yeah. Them and Fear and Venom and every other band that played that night.
Yeah.
Well, Fear and Venom played?
That was a fantastic show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them with The Damned and with Rancid.
Oh,
nice.
Man.
That was a killer lineup.
Absolutely.
But Fear and Venom's also pretty good, too.
It was damn good. We're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
No, because we talked about my album and my video, and I'm trying to think. I got another single coming out month.
Nice.
I haven't decided which it is, though, but I will let you know. But yeah, stay tuned. And you can find me at GinaVolpe.com, Gina Volpe Music on Instagram. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, very good. Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure having you. This is how things are going to work out once yours is ready to go. Jeff, the editing wizard, we'll send it to you, and please share it wherever you possibly can. It helps us out. It helps you out. It's just a great thing.
I will for sure.
Sound good?
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Hey, we had a blast. Thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you in 3 weeks with your episode, and hey, happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Perfect. Happy holidays and great talking with you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
From you, then you plug out both their eyes.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.